Bear down, Chicago Bears. We are now 1-0 in the undefeated 2024 season. The Bears, Chicago Bears, undefeated in 3 quarters. Hall of Fame game was held yesterday, and the Chicago Bears came out victorious, defeating the Houston Texans 21-17 in a game that really produced some interesting stuff here. There were no interceptions thrown. There were touchdowns galore. Chicago Bears had a couple of touchdowns. We've got some statistics here that resonate and answers quite a few questions that we may have had going into this. But let's recognize some of the big players out here. We had, I told you yesterday, one of the things that I was watching for was Roschon Johnson, Khalil Herbert. Roschon Johnson did a fine job because he was that explosive sort of short yard guy. He started hit the ground running, but Khalil Herbert came in and very quickly looked really, really good. Not only that, Brett Rippon came in, looked really good. Colin Johnson had a breakout game with 2 touchdowns, and Tommy Sweeney for the other touchdown. So I think that as we kind of break down, there were mistakes made. There were plenty of mistakes made. But as we break this down, I think most of you, if not, you should be pretty excited about what you see from the Chicago Bears backups going into this. In fact, not only did Brett Rippon have a good game, I think Tyson Bagent did okay. I don't know that. I think Brett Rippon got most of the time on the field, and Austin Reed even got in where he was perfect. Austin Reed is now the all-time leader in passing for the Chicago Bears with a 100% completion rate. So that's going to be pretty big too. Not regular season, I know that, but let's have a little fun with it, because if you haven't already, then hit the like button and let's kick this off. So the NFL world is now reacting to Colin Johnson. Chicago Bears kicked off the preseason against the Houston Texans in the Hall of Fame game, and while no starters played, it was an eventful night. The biggest star of the evening was wide receiver Colin Johnson, who put on a show with fellow standout third-string quarterback Brett Rippon. Now, not only did Colin Johnson have a really good game, but he also he missed a 30-yard pass that should have been, it looked to me like it was a catch, but that would have been an even bigger one. You know what I mean? So, but we'll see what that looks like. Colin Johnson broke out, absolutely having his best game preseason, obviously, but the Bears have a loaded wide receiver room in DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, and now Tyler Scott. If Johnson continues to do this, though, then Colin Johnson was on the scout team last year. So, he hadn't made it to the real roster or anything like that. And now he's looking like a star. And the question would be, maybe he didn't look like a star because he didn't have the right quarterback. That's the question you might be asking from last year. So perhaps we're seeing something a little bit different. We're seeing some quarterbacks who are getting who are getting the ball out, who are making passes. And by the way, I do want to say this. I think all Chicago quarterbacks last night looked really, really good. The summary of the Chicago Bears quarterbacks. This is, and I'm not even kidding here. 15 of 20 for 192 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 144 passer rating. So worked out pretty well. Davis Mills, by the way, had a really good run for Houston. So shout out to Houston for having a good game. But Colin Johnson absolutely going crazy. Who else went crazy? We had 6 carries for 24 yards from Roschon Johnson. And listen, he was hitting the hole and looking really good early on as he got the start. However, he did in short yardage situations that made it a little more difficult because he wasn't getting the ball on those short ones and not busting through that line. Of course, that's an offensive line protection issue, and we're using second and third string guys. But still, most importantly, 6 carries, 24 yards. Not great, but very good. Very great, though, was 4 carries for 35 yards from Khalil Herbert. And listen, let me just say that both of these, we are lucky to have both of these guys on this team. They both looked the part. They both looked like they were ready to press for that number 2 role. Now, if I have to make that call right now, based on the statistics and based on the fact that Khalil did break away a 19-yard gain, I'm going to go with Khalil at this point, despite the fact that I want to go with Roschon Johnson. If I take that 1 carry for 19 yards, then you still got 16 other yards over 3 other carries, which means he's averaging over 5 yards a carry, which is still better than what Roschon Johnson did. So, if I have to make a call today, Khalil Herbert is my number 2. That being said, I don't know what the status is. I know we're going to have to pay him to keep him. I'm not sure that that's going to be on the table. And there is, by the way, a comment. I'm not going to show anything about it, but DJ Moore made a comment yesterday where he thinks that the money now exists for the Chicago Bears to sign Keenan Allen. He said that I know his number and I think we can do it. And I don't know what that means. I don't know what the number is. I know that Keenan has to recognize he's on the downside of his career, that he's not going to get younger. He's not going to get faster. He's not going to get stronger. He's not going to get better as he goes. Maybe a little more savvy, but physically he's not going to get better. So the question is, do you want to close your career out as a Chicago Bear, or do you not want to close your career out as a Chicago Bear? That's basically the only question. So we'll see what happens with Keenan Allen, but just keep that in mind that we might be looking at a much longer term play out here, which would be just incredible. I mean, it would be incredible to see Keenan Allen continue to stay here. However, let's just say that the future is bright, whether Keenan is here or not. DJ Moore locked in until 2029. Rome Odunze, at least 2028, 2029. With the 5th-year option. So same for Caleb Williams, but Tyler Scott and Colin Johnson starting to make moves. So this wide receiver room that looked really bad and struggling last year, suddenly looking very, very elite. Not just the elite players. We already know we've got DJ Moore. We already know what Keenan Allen can do. We think we know what Rome Odunze can do, but Tyler Scott coming up big time. Colin Johnson coming up big time. I think that we've got something in this room right now, and ESPN just ranked it as the number 6 receiving room in all of football. So maybe, just maybe, that's going to be a really cool thing. And also, along the way, Tommy Sweeney came in with the big game. And Tommy Sweeney ended up having 3 receptions for 47 yards, which was a pretty big number for somebody who's just kind of, meandered around. He fumbled the football after his first catch, by the way. Let's not forget that. But he did get the ball back. So then he had a touchdown catch a little bit later on. And look, there were not a lot of drops. This team looked really good. They looked really ready to they looked really ready to play. And by the way, there was one other thing that did happen, and that was this man, Byron Cowart, got credit for 1 sack, but I want to say it really kind of felt like that was Austin Booker. I don't know what you guys say. I'm going to show you the play in just a few minutes. We're going to look at that. And to me, it looked like Austin Booker was the guy that was getting that sack. And then you had Leon Jones out here. Leon Jones had 2 pass breakups, and he had a lone tackle. But remember, this is an undrafted free agent out of Arkansas State trying to make the roster, and he looked pretty good. So even if he's not going to be on the final cut, even if he's not going to make the final roster, giving him giving him a longer look is probably going to be kind of important here, because I think Leon Jones had a really good game. Can he continue to have a really good game like that? I don't know. I don't know. And by the way, could Colin Johnson just have the benefit of playing against second and third string guys? Yeah, but we're all second and third string guys playing out here in the Hall of Fame game at this point. So, and Brett Rypien, by the way, Brett Rypien looked really, really good. Again, you're not going against you're not going against the ones. You're taking on the 2s and the 3s, but he still looked pretty good. So I think the quarterback room maybe got shored up just a little bit. We saw a little bit, and we liked what we saw. And by the way, the reason that Brett Rippon was brought in to begin with was so that he could have a little bit of a veteran presence to kind of calm Caleb Williams during these during situations, because he's been there, he knows. But look, he had more completion and passing yards and touchdowns than he's had in his entire NFL career, I think, in his first in his preseason game. So I don't know that this is the guy. I think he had a good day. We'll see how it plays out, but that leaves Austin Reed as the man out, or the guy for the practice squad. So we'll see what happens here. Cuts are coming. We should hear some information about cuts very, very soon, and we'll know a little bit more then. But guys, let's talk Austin Booker, because guys, look, the question that we all thought was, is Austin Booker ready for the NFL? Is he too small? Is he, is there something missing yet? Does he need to bulk up? Does he need to get a little bit better? Is there anything that he needs to work on? And we all kind of agreed, like, this is a prospect that if he had stayed in college, a lot of people are saying he would have been a first round pick if he comes back out. So we picked him up a little bit early, right? But he was consistently getting at the quarterback. He was consistently making plays. He was beating tackles all over the place, and he should have been credited with the sack, because that sack caused the fumble. And look. I'll you know what? Let's you know what? We're gonna look at it. We're gonna look at it. Okay. Let's pop this up on the screen here so you guys can see it. We're going to get struck, of course, but here he is right here. Look at him. This is quarterback. Now, did he get there in time? No, this was a quick read, a quick throw, but he was coming after this guy. Now, look at this play right here. This is him on the edge right here. Push him out of the way. Now, of course, the field was a little bit slick, a little bit slippery, but this is a different play, and he's just going around this guy, getting into the quarterback. So, do I feel better about the defensive line today than I did yesterday? 100%. This looks a lot better. By the way, Byron Cowart looked the part as well. So, and then we had one more play over here, and this is the sack. You can see right here. This is number 94 right here. You see him going in right now. Let me bring this up just a little bit bigger so you get an idea here. Now, see that right there? There's the fumble. But let's look at this one more time. 94 is right there. Boom. He's the one that's on the quarterback. 93 is over here recovering the fumble. I don't know why. 93, by the way, is Byron Cowart. I'm not sure why Byron Cowart is getting the credit on that sack. There he is coming around, sweeping the end. And you can see Byron Cowart just kind of goes around right there and just kind of misses. Now, does he swipe and knock the ball out? Maybe. But you don't get credit for a sack. Like, that's Austin Booker wrapped around that quarterback right there. So, a little bit interesting. So it could be that, he got the swipe in and that fumbled the ball at the same time. But here's the thing. This offensive or defensive line looks a little better than what we thought they were going to look like. They're making plays. These guys are doing exactly what we want. So shout out to Austin Booker for looking the part. He came in and was fantastic in his first NFL experience. So hopefully this is going to continue. Now, one more thing. Kevin Warren says that his goal is to break ground on a new stadium in 2025. JB Pritzker said it's going to be nearly impossible for a deal for a new stadium to come together before the end of 2024. Kevin Warren did an interview with ESPN at the Hall of Fame game and said that the team's goal is still to in the ground, moving dirt in 2025 with an eye on the stadium being ready for 2028. It's exactly where I thought we would be at this point in time. Now, is it the space that he thought? Doesn't look like it, but it is still, he does think that something's going to happen. By the way, hit the like button on your way in, if you will. Pushes me up in the algorithm, helps me out. Based on Pritzker's comments, nothing will move forward for quite some time, however. So we're going to have to see if there is some kind of concession or something that can be done to make this happen. But Arlington Heights might be now the prohibitive favorite for everything. And then finally, This is what it looked like if you didn't watch. The kickoffs were a little bit weird. So the basis behind the kickoff is that the kicker starts at the 35-yard line. The teams are at the 30, 35, and 40-yard line. They're facing each other 5 yards apart. You cannot move until the ball. And now, here's the thing. I think somebody's missing a little bit, because it was my understanding that you cannot move until the ball crosses the 20-yard line. However, they're waiting until it's caught to make the plays. Now, the first play went back to the 26-yard line. The second kickoff went to the 26-yard line. And it seems like that somewhere between the 25 and the 35 is about the range where most of these kicks are going to go. Now, we're going to develop blocks. We're going to get better at this as it goes. This is still kind of a test here. But the one thing that you noticed, if the ball gets kicked into the end zone and it gets downed, then you get the ball at the 30-yard line. If you are catching it at the 1 and you back up into the end zone and down it, then the ball gets placed at the 20-yard line. And if the ball gets kicked out of the end zone, then the ball goes to the 40-yard line. So you are incentivized right now. All kickers are incentivized to put the ball in between the 0 and the 20-yard line. Otherwise, there are penalties in terms of field position. So you want the guy to not kick it out of the back of the end zone anymore. So and this is creating. I think these plays were kind of exciting. Now, I don't think that the teams were ready to play the game. I don't think that we're ready, and I don't think that they've practiced it enough. And it is my understanding that all of the defensive or special teams guys are getting on conference calls and talking about things to kind of come up with, what's the appropriate strategy? How do we have to do this? Everybody, 7 people have to put their foot on the line. You have to have, there's a specific sort of setup, but whatever is not being said, that's probably going to have to be dealt with pretty soon. So we shall see. And by the way, the one thing is you had to have your foot on the line until the ball was caught. Even though you can move at the 20, it's a weird sort of thing here. So as we progress, I think the kick is going to look a little bit different, a little bit more smooth and streamlined by the time we get to the regular season, because now you're going to have 14, 15. You're going to have 15 more games this weekend as everybody plays. So we're going to get 15 more practices at doing this, and then they're going to have some conversation. Then we're going to get a second game and a third game before we get started with the season. So this new kick, I'm fascinated by it. I really think that, and by the way, when we do our ones, I'm going to be interested in seeing. Also, when it came down to these, I told you the center position was the one that I was the most interested in when it came down to it, because, what I wanted to see was, who was going to be that guy. Who was it that we're going to do? And, he started off with Jerome Carvin. We had Jerome Carvin in there for a period of time. We had Doug Kramer in there for a little while. So they were moving people around, just kind of, makeshifting the line, getting people some experience at positions. And by the way, Doug Kramer did not look bad. So I think that our center position, if anything, is, not solved, but better than it was. Matty Pryor, as a matter of fact, got in a lot of work as well. Remember, Matty Pryor is 6'7", 332 pounds. It is my opinion that, in the event that something happens with Nate Davis or Tevin Jenkins, I think we're going to be in a much better shape than we originally thought. And guys, I want to stress this. It looks like this team is ready for business. I'm not sure what you got. I think the defense started a little tepid. I think the defense did not look great when they got onto the field early. It was very easy for the Texans to move the ball down the field, second unit to second unit. That would be a cause for concern. They gave up an easy touchdown right away, but they immediately came back on offense and started playing the game the right way. Now, the question at that point, of course, becomes, well, what happens after that? Do we are we going to have a defense that can stop people? And as you watched the game progress, You saw these guys starting to get into their lanes, starting to understand a little bit more about how they were playing as a team, and you started to see some success. You started to see them putting pressure you started to see pressure happening. And one of the things that was difficult, I'm going to tell you this. One of the things that was difficult for that defense right away, uh, the Houston Texans, they get off the block fast. This team drops back, throws. There's not a whole lot of sitting back in the pocket waiting for plays to develop. Now, some of that could be that we didn't have our ones on coverage, right? Could also be that they just have a much better depth chart, or it looked like they were having, holding a much better depth chart. They had the Boga dongle, whatever. I can't even say the game. Ogunba. Oh my god, I'm going to feel like an asshole if I even say the name, but it's Ogunbowale. Was having a Ogunbowale. Yeah. So he was having a really good game. And Ben Skoranek was having a good game. So, shout out to those guys. And I think Xavier Hutchinson had a pretty nice game to begin with. So, maybe they caught us a little bit flat-footed to start, but that rapidly changed. The Bears made some adjustments, which, I mean, we don't see that very much. We don't see a lot of great adjustments coming from the Chicago Bears. And what did we see? We saw some great adjustments come from the Chicago Bears, both on offense and on defense, which is something that we were not used to. And they continued to move the ball down the field, the Chicago Bears, and we got better at slowing down their offense. Now, was that Davis Mills going to Case Keenum, stuff like that? I mean, it could be, but it seemed like as we got in here, we locked it down and things started to change. The dynamic I don't know if I have a by quarter analysis. I mean, it's a little early. I don't think it's really going to matter too much, but I think if we look at it on let's see here, first downs. I don't know if they track this by quarter here or not. Yeah, I don't have anything tracking it by quarter. I thought of this after the fact, I guess. I should have been ready for it. First quarter, they had one touchdown and a field goal. In the second quarter, they had two touchdowns and a field goal. Chicago Bears had two touchdowns, and then in the third quarter, Chicago with another touchdown. So it's what I mean. I think that Oxy Brodo might have the point here. They were starting to get their game legs. They were starting to feel it. You know what I mean? And look, by the way, if you guys didn't notice, Caleb Williams was tuned into this game. The ones were out here and they were really liking what they were seeing. They were really excited for this team. They wanted to see everybody succeed. And by the way, don't forget, John Jackson had a punt return or a kick return. And that was interesting to see. I don't know if that means he's going to make the team. That is Caleb Williams' best friend. So I don't know if it means he's going to make the team, but he did get in a little bit of time. And we did get to see some statistics pop up for John Jackson in the preseason. And I do believe that was kick return. He had a couple of kick returns. 1 second here. John Jackson had two kick returns. By the way, Tyler Scott had two kick returns. John Jackson had two kick returns. John Jackson had two for 59 yards. Tyler Scott had two for 40 yards. So John Jackson was averaging 30 yards per return with a long of 31. As far as punt returns go, Dante Pettis, he fumbled one of those and gave the ball away, which the defense stepped up and played big. But DeAndre Carter had 1 for 9. Cairo Santos, 3 for 3 on extra points. And Corliss Waitman he didn't have great kicks, but he had solid kicks. He had two solid kicks, and he had one that was just kind of but shout out. Let's I hope you guys were excited. I hope you guys look. I'm really excited about what I saw on the field right now, and I know it's early to get excited about because you're not looking at starters. You're looking at vanilla offense. You're looking at a vanilla defense. You're not looking at anything special, if you will. You're not getting wrinkles into the play. You'll get a little bit more in the next game. But guys, this was a physical game. This was me and my crew matching up against you and your crew, and we're just going head to head. Now, that being said, what ended up happening? We beat the Houston Texans. Now, could we have beaten them in a 4-quarter game? I don't know. I don't know if that's the case or not. We're going to find out. I think that's the second game of the season that we're playing the Houston Texans. So, yeah, second game of the season, we're playing the Houston Texans. So we're going to be playing it for real. And we're going to see Stephon Diggs. We're going to see Danielle Hunter. We're going to see all of their ones. And we're going to see how we match up with them. It's going to be real interesting. But I think that I think that we're going to come out and really shock the Titans when it's all said and done. And by the way, I just want to point out this team looked way, and I mean way better than they did in the first preseason game of last season. Okay, this was a much different, much more focused team that seemed to be out here playing. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and remember to bear down and fuck Green Bay. Green Bay, we are coming for that ass pretty soon. So yeah. Just get ready, guys, because this is going to be a fantastic season, and I will see you guys again on Monday.